Hello, BookTube. Today I'm going to be talking about Katie Edwards' The Hanged Man, the sequel to last year's The Last Sun, and the second book in the Tarot sequence. Um, so, at the end of The Last Sun, Rune finds out that his ward, Max, is betrothed to the Hanged Man, one of the Arcana, the ruling elite of New Atlantis. He rules the gallows throne and is every bit as corrupt as Max's family was or had become by the time that the Arcanum or the Arcana moved against them. So this book, The Hanged Man, is Rune's quest to prevent the Hanged Man from claiming Max, and in trying to save Max, discovers that former members of his court, left to drift on the wind after the majority of the Sun Throne was destroyed, needs his help too. Again, a former retainer, their adopted son, has fallen in with the Hanged Man as well. So, in trying to get him back and trying to build up a case as to why the Hanged Man should be removed from power and whatnot, Rune has to make a hard decision whether on his future. So, all told, I have very mixed opinions about this book, much as I did with The Last Sun. There are some things that Katie Edwards does phenomenally well. His plotting, his world building, his description, his action scenes are all wonderfully done. But there are things that he does terribly. There are these aspects of writing that he just does, and it's frustrating. Characterization, and also a propensity to info dump. The first chapter, the prologue, is basically a Wikipedia entry on New Atlantis. It's like it has no purpose in this novel. It's just like, yeah, I have this piece of writing and I don't know where it really fits in, but I want to use it because I wrote it. And I'm thinking, why didn't your writing group, beta reader, your agent, your editor say, this prologue needs to go? It has no purpose. It serves no purpose. Because, it's just like this prologue just doesn't fit the rest of the story structurally or anything. It's supplementary material that you could use for a World of New Atlantis book if, this series gets as popular as, say, A Song of Ice and Fire. And there's demand for a history book or like the World of Ice and Fire that George R. R. Martin and some of his assistants put out a few years ago, or Pottermore with like J.K. Rowling, where she puts supplemental material on there. Or even get involved with the Wikipedia of the Hanged Man or the tarot sequence. It's just the prologue should not be here. And I think that really set the tone. It just, yeah. The plot itself, the sort of the cold open, usually Katie Edwards likes to have a opening chapter that really doesn't bear much to the rest of the book. It's foreshadowing future events, which was well done. The actual plot points, how everything turns out, it's pretty awesome and interesting. Again, the world building is phenomenal. Katie Edwards does do his research and lovingly describes the locations, this people, give bits of history very smoothly. The fight scenes, action sequences, even like tense conversations between characters are all well done. It's just, I think my biggest issue is the characterization. Rune is really like the only fully fleshed out, realized character. Even Brand, who is the Deuteragonist, who has such a close relationship with Rune. I mean, he's a hyper competent sidekick with a side of sass. That's it. There's nothing else. I mean, he's basically a type. There's no hidden depth. I mean, nothing. Is just he's completely loyal to Rune. And it's just, yeah. And then with Max, who we don't really learn much. He's really, again, mostly a background character, even as he's really sort of the core of this mystery. We don't learn anything about his parents. We know his uncle was abusive, that his grandmother had massive expectations for him that he failed to materialize, even though he does seem to have some skills that aren't maybe necessarily highly magical. But it's like he's like just Rune 2.0 without the magical ability. And it's, yeah. And the rest of the characters tend to be more types and stuff, so yeah. So I don't know necessarily, yeah, I mean, so I don't know necessarily if I'm being overly generous or being overly harsh. Because on the one hand, I do want to support the series. I do like it in bits. But at the same time, there are things about it that just drive me up a wall. And yeah, I mean, I think I'll probably continue with the series. I might give it a final volume. Because from my understanding, it's basically the tarot sequence is 3 trilogies. Like there's a first trilogy which deals with the fall of the Sun Court, which I'm thinking will be the main focus of book 3, whatever that is. And then there will be 2 continuing trilogies. Yeah, so I might stick with it, or I might not. It depends what I hear about the next volume. So anyway, I know I'm kind of disappointed myself, and yeah. Anyway, so that was The Hanged Man by Katie Edwards. Thank you, BookTube.